Many of you may recognize Lucilla from the film Gladiator, where she is depicted as the graceful, noble daughter of the revered Emperor Marcus Aurelius. However, the real Lucilla's life was far darker and more complex than the cinematic portrayal suggests. In truth, Lucilla was not only the daughter of Marcus Aurelius, but also the wife of his co-ruler and adoptive brother, Lucius Verus, and the elder sister of the infamous Emperor Commodus. Living during the golden age of Rome, Lucilla wielded immense power, ranking among the most influential women in the world at the time. Yet, her life took a dramatic turn after the death of her esteemed father. As her brother Commodus ascended to the throne, his reign became increasingly erratic and tyrannical. Recognizing the growing threat that he posed, Lucilla, once a figure of nobility, found herself plotting his assassination, a plan that would ultimately lead to her demise. Far from the meek and passive character seen in Gladiator, Lucilla's real life reveals a woman of extraordinary cunning and ambition, caught in the intricate web of power, betrayal, and tragedy that marked the end of Rome's golden era. This is the untold story of Lucilla, a woman who was much more than a mere figurehead in the history of an empire. Born into the heart of Rome's ruling family around the year 150 AD, her life was destined to intertwine with the grandeur and intrigue of the Roman world. Lucilla's early life would be defined by privilege and power, yet it was also marked by the constant shadow of loss, as many of her siblings would die young. The mortality rate among infants in the ancient world was high, whether you were lower or higher class. Her father, Marcus Aurelius, was a philosopher emperor revered for his wisdom and leadership. When Marcus ascended to the throne, the Roman Senate initially intended for him to rule alone. However, Marcus, known for his sense of justice and humility, refused the position unless his foster brother Lucius Verus was granted equal powers. The two had grown up together under the tutelage of Emperor Antoninus Pius, forming a bond that transcended politics. Their deep mutual respect and shared history laid the foundation for an unprecedented partnership in Roman governance. In the year 161, Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus became co-emperors, marking a significant moment in the empire's history. In the same year, the young Lucilla, just 11 years old, was betrothed to Lucius Verus. This union, though arranged, marked a significant step in her rise to prominence. At just 14, Lucilla became the wife of a man 18 years her senior, and in doing so, she was granted the prestigious title of Augusta, officially assuming her role as the Roman Empress. Over the course of her marriage to Lucius Verus, Lucilla had 3 children, 2 daughters named Lucilla and Plautia, and a son named Lucius Verus after his father. Unfortunately, tragedy struck early, as 2 of her children, Lucilla and Lucius, died in their youth. Despite these personal losses, Lucilla remained an influential and respected figure within the Roman Empire. While her husband often spent much of his time away from Rome, fulfilling his duties as co-emperor, Lucilla would remain in the city, where she enjoyed both her status and her power. She navigated the intricacies of court life with grace and intelligence, reinforcing her position in the empire. Her father and husband were both beloved by the people, and this in turn elevated Lucilla's standing in Roman society. She was not only admired for her lineage and beauty, but also respected for the strategic role she played behind the scenes. As the daughter of one emperor and the wife of another, she ascended to the highest echelons of Roman power, commanding both influence and affection in equal measure. Lucilla's life, though filled with privilege and responsibility, was also fraught with the complexities and tragedies that often accompanied power in the Roman world. Yet, through it all, she stood as a symbol of strength, intellect, and ambition, her legacy enduring far beyond the confines of her marriage and familial ties. However, around 5 years after her marriage to Lucius Verus, he would die in the year 169, while returning from the war theatre in the Danube region. Despite the minor differences between them, Marcus Aurelius grieved the loss of his adoptive brother. He accompanied the body back to Rome, and funeral games were arranged in order to honour his memory. Nevertheless, Lucilla lost her status as Empress, and her father Marcus Aurelius was now the sole emperor. In the year 169, shortly after her first marriage to Lucius Verus, Lucilla's father Marcus Aurelius arranged a second marriage for her, this time to Pomponius, a Syrian Roman. Despite his considerable military and political achievements, the marriage was met with resistance from Lucilla and her mother. The union was considered less than ideal for several reasons. First, Pomponius was at least twice Lucilla's age, and second, though he came from an esteemed family in the East, he was not of the same Roman social rank as Lucilla. Despite these objections, the marriage proceeded, and in the year 170, Lucilla gave birth to a son named Pomponius. Lucilla's new husband Pomponius had an illustrious career, serving as the military governor of Pannonia Inferior, a province that spanned parts of present-day Hungary, Serbia, Croatia, and Bosnia. He was a trusted commander under Marcus Aurelius, and at one point, the emperor even offered to make him Caesar and his heir. However, Pomponius declined this prestigious title, preferring instead to remain a loyal servant to the empire. His military prowess was well recognized, and during the Marcomannic War, he was appointed as the chief general of the Roman forces, a role that solidified his reputation as one of the empire's most capable leaders. In the year 172, Lucilla and Pomponius accompanied Marcus Aurelius to Vindobona, modern-day Vienna, to support the Danube military campaign. They were with him on the 17th of March in the year 180, when Marcus Aurelius passed away and Lucilla's brother Commodus ascended to the throne. With Marcus Aurelius now dead, any hope that Lucilla had of reclaiming the title of Empress faded, as Commodus's reign signalled the end of the stability that had once defined the empire. Lucilla and her husband returned to Rome, where Lucilla, now far removed from her former position of power, settled into the quiet life of a private Roman citizen. Although Lucilla was the elder sister of Commodus, and over a decade his senior, and she had considerable experience in governance, she was discontent with the simple life that now awaited her. She resented the rise of her sister-in-law, Brutia Crispina, whom Commodus had married, and Lucilla's jealousy of Crispina grew, particularly due to the Empress's position and the power she wielded as Commodus's wife. Lucilla, once accustomed to influence and respect, found it difficult to accept the diminished role she now played in the imperial court. Over time, Lucilla grew increasingly alarmed by her brother's erratic behaviour and the growing instability it came with. Commodus, while not inherently wicked, was described by the historian Cassius Dio as being as guileless as any man that ever lived. Yet his simplicity and cowardice made him vulnerable to manipulation by his companions. As a result, Commodus's reign was marked by indulgence, vice, cruelty, and excess. His rejection of advice from the Senate, combined with his desire for a comfortable and luxurious life in Rome, further destabilized the empire. Lucilla, who longed for the power her husband had declined and yearned to restore Rome to its former glory, grew increasingly desperate. Seeing her brother's reign as a threat to the stability of the empire, she devised a plot to remove him from power. Her motive was clear: to free the Roman Empire from the tyranny of her erratic brother, and to reclaim her own place in the empire's power structure. Thus, Lucilla's ambition, tempered by frustration and fear for Rome's future, led her down a dangerous path, a path that would eventually seal her fate. In the year 182, as her brother Commodus's rule grew ever more unstable and tyrannical, Lucilla found herself at a crossroads. For years, she had watched in increasing horror as the empire she once held close began to unravel under her brother's erratic and increasingly dangerous reign. Commodus, once a promising young leader, had transformed into a terrible ruler, whose vices, cruelty, and disregard for the Senate and the people had weakened Rome's foundation. Lucilla, no longer content to live in the shadow of her brother's misrule, conspired with a circle of trusted allies to take decisive action. In a daring plot, she sought to remove Commodus from power and replace him. The conspiracy was carefully planned and involved a wide array of individuals, some of whom were deeply connected to the highest echelons of Roman society. At the heart of the conspiracy was Lucilla's daughter Plautia, from her first marriage to Lucius Verus. Lucilla also enlisted the help of her husband's nephew, a young man who shared the same name as his uncle, Quintanius, and was loyal to her cause. She also found other powerful allies, including the former consul and the Praetorian prefect. Together, this group of conspirators harboured one common goal: the overthrow of Commodus and the restoration of Rome's glory under new, more capable rulers. But the plot, which had been carefully constructed, was doomed from the start. Quintanius's nephew, the designated assassin, was entrusted with the task of ending Commodus's life. Commodus, unsuspecting, was lured to the arena under false pretenses, a trap that had been carefully set. Armed with either a dagger or a sword, Quintanius was poised to strike at the emperor as the would-be assassin sprang from his hiding place to carry out the deed. But he made a fatal error. Boasting loudly, he declared, "Here is what the Senate sends to you," a premature admission of his intentions. His words gave away his plot, alerting Commodus's guards before he could deliver the fatal blow. The Praetorian guards, ever vigilant and loyal to Commodus, reacted swiftly. The elite warriors overpowered the assassin with astonishing speed and disarmed him before he could harm Commodus. The attempt on the emperor's life was thwarted, and the would-be killer was captured. With the conspiracy exposed, Commodus wasted no time in exacting his revenge. Furious at the betrayal, he ordered the immediate execution of the conspirators. Quintanius, the man who had failed the assassination attempt, was swiftly put to death. Lucilla, along with her daughter Plautia and her cousin Faustina, were not executed immediately, but were instead banished to the remote island of Capri, a place of exile often used for those whom the emperor sought to remove from public life. There, the once powerful Empress and her companions were left to face a life of solitude and obscurity, far from the bustling heart of Rome. However, Commodus had no intention of letting them live for long. Later that same year, he dispatched a centurion to Capri with orders to carry out the executions. The sentence was grim. The women would meet their deaths on the isolated island, their once prominent positions within the empire now reduced to nothing more than a tragic footnote in the Roman history. Lucilla's husband Pomponius, who had not participated in the plot, was spared. Thus, ended the brief and ill-fated assassination plot led by Lucilla. In her desperate bid to save Rome from her brother's rule, she had sacrificed everything: her title, her family, and ultimately her life. But Commodus's victory, cruel and absolute, solidified his place as the sole ruler of Rome. The empire, though fractured and unstable, would continue under his reign, leaving Lucilla's story to fade into the shadows of history. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all soon for another History Profile.